We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, the podcast where we dive into the art of songwriting, celebrate the artists behind the music and explore the stories that bring their songs to life. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and as always, thank you for joining us. Our guests today on the podcast are none other than the legendary Scottish post-rock band Mogwai. The Glasgow natives have been crafting beautiful, instrumental shoegaze-esque and art rock for an incredible 30 years now, and they are showing no signs of slowing down in 2025. Fresh off the release of their stunning documentary, If the Stars Had a Sound, late last year, the band is back with their brand new record, which drops today, titled The Bad Fire. That title, The Bad Fire, is Scottish slang for hell, and it's a fitting name as it somewhat reflects the trials that the band endured while making this record. Produced by the one and only John Congleton, the album came together under extraordinary circumstances, and it's definitely something that you can feel in every note of these new tracks. Now, while he was in Australia last December, we were lucky enough to sit down with frontman Stuart Braithwaite to chat about The Bad Fire and the challenges that made this such a unique and personal record to create. We discuss what it was like collaborating with John Congleton and bringing him over to Scotland to work on the album. Stuart then also shares his journey into songwriting and maybe hints at when we might see Mogwai back on Australian shores. We want to thank Sophie for her help with today's episode and remind everyone that The Bad Fire is out right now. You'll find links in the show notes on where you can purchase the record and follow Mogwai on their socials. While you're there, don't forget to check out our own socials and subscribe to the podcast to stay up to date with all of our future episodes. So let's not wait any longer. Here is our conversation with Stuart Braithwaite from Mogwai. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Stuart Braithwaite from Mogwai. Stuart, hello, how are you going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us and having a chat today on the podcast. Welcome to Australia, by the way.
Thank you. I feel very welcome. I'm very tired.
Very tired. Have you only just got in?
I got in yesterday, but yeah, I've kind of only been sleeping in short bursts, so I'm not going to be super effervescent, but that's all good.
I'm totally fine with that. Look, I very much appreciate the fact that you're coming to have a chat with us at all. It's a very exciting time for fans of yourself and of the band for Mogwai. There's a brand new record out when people are having a listen to this chat. It is called The Bad Fire. It's a brilliant record, firstly. Congratulations on this new record.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course. How are you feeling with the record coming out?
I'm excited for people to hear it. Yeah, I really enjoyed making this record, so it's weird now with it takes so long to physically make records that there seems to be a bigger and bigger gap between finishing a record and it being in the world. So yeah, I'm just excited to get it out there and have people listen to it.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things, I imagine, that because these songs sit with yourself and with the band for so long, and then as you said, there's the process of the mixing, the mastering, the artwork, all the kind of back of house items as well, that when the album actually finally does come around, you've kind of already had these songs for 3 or 4 years almost. Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because it didn't used to be like that. Like, I guess our band's been going a long time. You're probably going to mention that, but back in the day, you would finish a record and it would seem to be out in a couple of months, whereas now it's like sometimes almost a year or something. So yeah, it's crazy. Which is wild, but it is a fantastic record. I'm curious for yourselves. This is the 11th studio record, I believe, in an almost 30-year history of the band, roughly.
Yeah, it'll be 30 years in June.
There we go. Yeah. I know we've just talked about kind of the timing, but does the process, or I guess for yourselves, does that feeling of releasing a record change over the years? Have you gotten more relaxed with it? Are there still nerves? Are there still a bit of anxiety?
Yeah, I'm still nervous. I mean, honestly, like when you said you liked the record, I was like kind of really relieved. I've hardly spoken to anyone who's heard it. So it's kind of like, yeah, and I'm really proud of it. I really love this record, but you never know. Like, everyone's brains are different.
It is. Well, look, from I'm only one man, so only one man's opinion, but it is a beautiful record. We were very lucky enough to have a listen to it over the last kind of week or so, and sitting with it. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous record, gorgeous sounding as well. I know that the previous record from the band, As the Love Continues, was quite a successful record for the band, and went to number 1, which is huge. Congratulations on that as well. Going into making a new record following that, is there any thoughts of, oh God, we have to do this again, we have to follow up the success, or is that kind of just not even?
No, we didn't really think like that. I think we were just like, we just want to do a new record, just like write some songs, get in the studio. Just, it's kind of funny, like, if you're a musician and you're not making music, you're just an unemployed person, you know. And there's also a kind of a creative drive as well, like to try new things, to do some new stuff, to work with different people, and it just felt like a big relief. It was quite a hard record to make. Barry, who plays piano in the band, has been having a really hard time. His kid was really sick, and he didn't even come to Australia with us when we came last February. So just getting Barry back making music after he kind of having to deal with this horrific family situation was hard, you know. And it was hard for Barry, but when we eventually got the songs together and got in the studio, it was a lot of fun. John, that recorded the album, John Congleton, he's a really, really funny guy, really nice guy, and yeah.
We've been speaking to a lot of artists recently, oddly, that have kind of worked with John Congleton, fantastic Grammy Award-winning producer, and he's worked with such a kind of eclectic range of artists. I know that there's been indie artists like Death Cab for Cutie or St. Vincent, yourselves obviously with this record, and then I think Nelly Furtado and other kind of, you know, different soundscapes to play around with. Yeah. What made John the right person for this kind of record with yourselves?
You know, it was my wife as a musician. She makes music as Elizabeth Electra, and she pays more attention to things than I do. And she was talking about all these records that she liked that he recorded. And I was like, yeah, they are all really, really good. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, he's recorded loads of my friends. Like I just followed him on Instagram, and he like replied and was like, oh, I really like your band. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was in LA. I think I was going to see The Cure. I went to a bunch of Cure shows summer before last, and we just went for a coffee, and just a nice guy. And because Barry can't travel or couldn't travel at that point, we needed to work with someone who could come to Scotland. And yeah, we asked John, and he came, and he'd been having a tough time too. John started out producing or recording. He was Steve Albini's tape op, and Steve obviously died, and that was just before we started recording. So he was going through some stuff too. So it kind of felt that all of us kind of coming together were kind of using the experience of making the record to kind of exercise some things, you know.
100%. The album's title, The Bad Fire, is from my understanding some Scottish kind of slang or vernacular in terms of, like, it's another word for hell essentially. And I imagine that's maybe where that title came from in a bit of a way.
I don't know if it did, but I mean that fits so well. But I mean, I think we just thought that was a funny name for the record. Like our record titles and things tend to be pretty ludicrous, but maybe something serious kind of seeps in. So maybe in a subconscious level it was, but I remember we were choosing the name, we just thought it was funny. I kind of wanted to call the record what we ended up calling one of the songs, which is the Philip K. Dick quote, if you find this world bad, you should see some of the others. And which I guess kind of fits that too. So yeah, it probably did kind of fit in. But The Bad Fire is just something, honestly, like growing up in Scotland, your granny, if you like didn't tidy your toys, they'd be like, you're going to the bad fire. Like people just routinely tell their children they're going to hell. And I don't think that happens anymore. But yeah, when growing up in the 80s, that happened a lot.
That's so funny. That's such a it's definitely a cool album title name. And I'm wondering, I know you've obviously talked just then about some of the want to say like maybe trials or tribulations that everyone was going through at that time. Was there ever a point, I don't think necessarily putting the band on hiatus or anything like that, but was there ever a point of maybe now's not the time to make a record, or was it more a thing that you almost needed to do to help kind of push through?
I think there was definitely points, because getting together to write and rehearse was so hard that, in fact, I even remember this process going on while we were in Australia. I'm trying to get my years. Start of 24, and Barry's not there. He's not with us. Literally, the first shows we'd done without Barry since he joined the band, and just we had a Dropbox with the demos of the songs, and we were coming back, and then we were going to rehearse, and I remember literally just counting the songs, being like, have we got enough songs? Like, and I don't remember that ever happening before. And I remember just thinking about the ones that were good and the ones that I wasn't so sure about. And because we always demo loads of songs, so we always have like 20, 30 demos and choose the best, whatever, 10, 12 to work on. And I remember I was on an internal flight, and I was like doing notes on my phone, and I was like, okay, we've got 10 good songs. And just thinking, right, it's going to be okay. And that's never really been in that position, you know. And it was so circumstantial, but it was like, we're going to record, we're going to book a studio, we're going to fly a dude from LA to come and record us. This is like, and I never thought it was not going to happen, but I definitely was very aware that it was harder than it normally is.
I think that there's always this thing about making music, writing music, that it's this cathartic process. And I think that the cliche maybe does come from some place of truth, in terms of that at some place has been, and maybe just the term is overused. But I imagine in this circumstance it maybe was a level of catharsis in terms of getting together in a room and being able to kind of hit instruments and make music and make noise.
Just make sound. Just get in a room where you, and it's funny as well, because you go back to, I mean, our band's been going a long time, since we were teenagers, so it's like just getting in a room with your friends and playing something until it sounds good. It's the easiest thing. That's literally what you do when you're a kid. It's literally what you do when you're a teenager, or whatever age you are, just starting to play and starting to just have fun and do something that sounds cool and have a good time with your friends. And just getting to that was hard, you know. And it's never been hard. And so when it did happen, I was so grateful, you know, really like emotionally grateful to get to that position. So like just it now being finished and people getting to hear it, it is a big deal, you know, and I'm really excited about it.
I love that. With John coming over to Scotland, what was that kind of like in terms of maybe a more social kind of aspect, in terms of, were you able to show him around, kind of see the sights, I guess, show him the inner workings of Mogwai?
I mean, we just got kind of thrown in. Like, I was the only person the band he'd ever met, you know, so like, so literally we're just in the studio and it's like, hey, here's John, he's recording the record. I mean, we'd had a couple of Zooms, like a few like very basic chats, but he's kind of from that kind of Steve Albini school of just like, get the mics up, play. We recorded the guts of this album in 5 days. We were doing 2-3 songs a day, just like blasting them out, and yeah, it was fine. And I think he had like 1 day off, and like he just like went for a walk around Glasgow. But he's been in bands, so I think he'd been there before. But yeah, it was good. It was good, and he's a funny dude as well. Like he had like some funny stories, and like he's a smart guy and an opinionated guy, and yeah, he was the right person for us to do it with, definitely.
I absolutely love that. I know that the band has self-produced some previous records in the past, I think, as well as working with Dave Friedman as well. Obviously, we're looking at the 11th record now. We're not even looking into the future at the moment. Possibly, would we work with John again in terms of
I'd like to. Yeah, I'd like to. And his studio's in Los Angeles, which is like a beautiful sunny place. So yeah, any excuse to go there and get stuck in the pissing cold Scottish rain.
Also very fair. You mentioned the song before, and I actually did want to kind of bring it up, and I've written it down so that I get the full title right, because it is a long title. My favourite track on the record does come about halfway through. It was the "If You Find This World Bad, You Should See Some of the Others." Gorgeous sonics on this, and the way it kind of builds, I just kind of found myself going back to kind of press repeat on it a few times.
Cool.
We were listening to it. We're actually from Adelaide. We're having a chat while we're in Sydney at the moment. And so even on the flight, it's also beautifully cinematic when flying, just for anyone listening who wants to kind of put it on while they're flying.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through the creation, or kind of where that track kind of came from?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote that one, and it was kind of funny. Like, I did the demo, I recorded the demo of it, and I think I was ready to delete it, and my wife was like, "Oh, people will love that," and I was like, "You think?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's what your band sounds like," because it's typical Mogwai, isn't it? And I guess in my head sometimes I turn away from that, but she was like, "Yeah, people will really like that song," and I was like, "Okay," and I like worked on it a bit more, and it ended up being on the record. But yeah, it's definitely, it's got the crescendo, you know, which is our kind of signature sound, I guess, from the early days. So yeah, I'm glad that it turned out like that.
It is a fantastic track, so thank you very much for sharing that. In terms of deciding that track list and working out what is going to make it, what's not, or what kind of suits the record, is that simply a band kind of democratic thing? I know you just said that obviously the real bosses, the wives, are included in this process as well.
I don't know what the other bands, but I don't know how much input they had. We're pretty reasonable people, and I think we're quite what's the word? Self-critical. So yeah, there was no big arguments or anything. Like the songs that we didn't put on it, I think we all were just like, they could be better. Or like we could have done it better. It wasn't like, oh, that song's just not a good song. I think by the time we got into the studio, we were kind of down to the bones of, we were happy with all the music. So the ones that went on the record were the ones that felt that we'd done the best we could with them, whereas the other ones like maybe needed a little bit more work or something. But so there was no big arguments or anything. In the past there's been disagreements, nothing dramatic, but I think with this one we're pretty uniform in what we wanted.
Over time, that obviously that process has kind of worked out, I imagine, between yourselves and the guys. The record is coming out the week that this conversation will be airing. We are having a chat in early December in Sydney. Curious, because you are here for a solo tour.
Yeah. How
is that kind of playing into the band's catalogue? And obviously for such a giant sounding band, how have you found, because this is the first time you've done the solo thing?
You know, it's a weird thing. I don't really do it too often. And I started doing solo gigs because I was doing a DJ set in Italy, and I had my records, my vinyl, and I turned up to do this DJ set in the middle of nowhere, and they had CDJs, and like they'd flown me out to Italy, and I was just like, oh man, I just felt like I should do something. And there was like some other band playing, and I was like, if that dude will lend me the guitar, I'll play some songs. And then those people, the Italian promoters, almost every year they'll be like, do you want to come and do this? And I really like Italy, I really like the wine. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come and do it. And nothing too serious, it's pretty low key. I just kind of play some covers and some Mogwai songs with vocals, kind of busker style. And the same thing happened. Zal, who plays in the band that played with us in Sydney at the start of the year, was like, do you want to come and do some gigs? And I was like, yeah, I've just bought a new house. If you want to pay me to come and play some songs, I'll do it. So yeah, it's not something that I take super seriously. At one point I might make a record of my own. I guess that at that point it would be more serious. I would probably stop doing any Mogwai songs and just do whatever there was, this theoretical songs of my own are. But yeah, it's just something to do for fun. Just an excuse to experience soul-destroying jet lag twice a year.
Look, some people love that, and so each to their own. With that, I'd love to kind of at least know, I know that I think yourself and Dom were the first two members of Mogwai, or at least met first and then built the band from that. I'd love to know your introduction to songwriting or just music or playing instruments back whenever that was.
Yeah, when I was a young teenager, I don't remember exactly how old, probably 11 or 12, my parents got me and my sister guitar lessons. And it was really good timing because it was around the same time that I kind of fell in love with music, mostly through my sister's record collection. So it was kind of things like the Jesus and Mary Chain and The Cure and old psych bands like Love and Stooges. And so I was learning to play these songs, and just as a hobby, really. I never had any kind of ambitions to be a musician. And then when I left school, I really messed about school. I didn't really try. But I could, by this point, play pretty well. So I went to music college, and at the college I was at, one of the things was like, you've got to form a band with the other kids at the college. And through that, I kind of got into the local music scene, playing like local shows. And that's when I met Dominic, because he was in a little local band as well. And both our bands were kind of not going anywhere. Our drummer actually moved to Australia. And so me and Dominic decided to start a new band, and that's how Mogwai started.
Yeah, right. That's actually super interesting in terms of that. I kind of, I guess, reading certain things online and trying to look at the origins of the band, and I guess learning that slightly different ways of how you guys came together.
Yeah. We were just kind of friends of friends, but we got to know each other through playing local shows at places like the 13th Note, which Alex from Franz Ferdinand used to be the booker there. And Alex booked the first 4 Mogwai shows or something like that. He really kind of championed our band. And and me, Dominic, we were both staying at our parents back then. So like I would go to his parents and like we'd work on music, and he'd come over to mine, we'd work on music. And then we needed a drummer, and I knew Martin went to... I didn't go to school. He lived in the same village as a lot of people that I went to school with, so I'd got to know him. I remembered he had a drum kit. We liked a lot of the same music, and he joined the band, and it was just the 3 of us for quite a while. And then John joined to play guitar, and then Barry joined the band after we made our first record. John left the band about 10 years ago, but apart from that, it's been the same 4 of us the whole time. I
love that. As I've mentioned, we are currently having a chat while you're in Sydney, and I know we've already discussed kind of the appeal or lack thereof of jet lag.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit selfish to be asking this, but as we've got a new Mogwai record coming out when this chat is going to air, can fans expect to see yourselves and the guys back in support of the record? Maybe some point later next year. We'll give you a bit of time between flights.
100%. Yeah. The trip early this year, which will now be last year by the time people hear this, was a lot of fun. Yeah. I think we played to more people than we've ever played to here, and we made to feel very welcome. And we'll definitely be back.
How many times, and I apologise for putting you on the spot with this question, please feel free to just brush off. Do you, roughly ballpark figure, do you know how many times you've played Australia at this point?
I would guess we've probably played here like 12 times, I'm guessing. I think we've definitely came on every record. Oh no, we wouldn't have came on we didn't come till our second record, I don't think. But then we've also came and played a few festivals as well as regular tours. So I'm guessing about 12.
Okay, that's pretty decent amount of times and pretty decent amount of jet lag, as we've discussed. Yeah.
It's a long way.
We do appreciate it when bands do travel so far for us, so it is very much appreciated. Is there any particular memory that sticks out as the biggest, although I guess the one that's kind of front of mind for you when you think of all those trips to Australia?
You know, the first time we came, I guess you know this, but you know, Neighbours was a huge deal in Britain. Mm-hmm. And like we were all super into Neighbours. I used to watch it twice a day. I can't believe I did that with my life. But we met the dudes who wrote Neighbours. Mm-hmm. I remember we got like smashed with these guys, and they I think they used to write Mogwai, and Mogwai would get mentioned sometimes on Neighbours. So like that kind of that always sticks in my mind.
I absolutely love that. I feel like someone, maybe myself, but anyone who's listening, we should kind of go back into the archives and see if we can find those.
That would be great.
Those mentions. Yeah. They have they've recently ended the show, and then Amazon bought the rights and they've restarted the show.
With some of the same people?
I believe so.
All right, that's cool.
If they're still alive and kicking, I think so. Yeah,
it should be. Yeah, that's cool.
Stuart, we usually end our conversations asking our guests what they're currently listening to. For yourself, anything on high rotation at the moment?
Oh man, well, again, this will be out of date, but there's a really good Christmas record. Mm-hmm. Sonic Boom from Spaceman 3 made with Dean and Britta from Galaxy 500 and Luna. Mm-hmm. So I like that alone. I really like the new Kendrick Lamar record as well. That's really good. So yeah, they're the two things I've been listening to.
Great production on that Kendrick record. Just incredible.
Yeah, sounds so good. He sounds so good.
Thank you so much for coming to have a chat about the brand new Mogwai record. It is called The Bad Fire. It's out when people are listening to this chat. But thank you again for your time.
Cheers. Thank you.